Hello and welcome to North 100, a Canadian Highlander podcast. My name is Serge. Joining me today, I have a Nelly.
Hey, I'm here.
I got a Wheeler.
I got a drink.
I got a James on tech.
I got a drink, but I already drank my drink, so I got no drink.
Oh.
Half a drink? What's the score for that one?
No, that's no drink.
No drink.
Yeah.
No drink. Turner strikes again. Patreon.com/loading ready run. With your support, we too can keep James from having drinks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Got to keep the man down. He's getting too yappy these days.
Sounded too hydrated for too long.
Hello, welcome to part 2 of our Tarkir Dragonstorm set review. Today we're going to be covering green, gold, artifacts, and land cards. A reminder with our set reviews that they are not exhaustive. We do not talk about every single card. Just a hand-picked selection of cards that we think are bangers, that we think you're going to want to talk about, or that we think will make an impact. We've also selected, I think, one commander card to feature today. Yep. Not a ton, but an exciting one. Without further ado, Wheeler, start us off.
Bloomvine Regent. 3 green for a 4/5 dragon with flying that says whenever this creature or another dragon you control enters, you gain 3 life. But it also has an omen. So for 2 and a green, you can cast Claim Territory as a sorcery. To search your library for up to 2 basic forest cards, reveal them, put one into the battlefield tapped, the other one into your hand, and then shuffle. And then Claim Territory gets shuffled into your library. I believe this means then you shuffle twice. So if there's a Kosi's Trickster, it gets an additional counter.
That's the interaction with Green Sun Zenith as well, right?
That sounds correct. Although it's funny because the reminder text seems to kind of imply you could take the also.
It says
mean one or the other.
Shuffle this card.
Right, but it's like it's at the end, so it's like, do you mean and then shuffle? But like, don't forget to include this card when you shuffle.
Tayback, I gotta know. Oh,
that's funny.
Tune into the Loading Ready Run Tarkir Dragonstorm Judge video, and we'll try to answer that Kosi's Trickster question for you specifically.
Oh my god!
Probably it's a 3/3.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, probably.
So Kodama's Reach and Cultivate style cards used to see quite a bit of play in the ramp strategies. That is no longer the case. And also, ramp strategies have kind of fallen off, or they fell off for a bit, but I do think that there's something of a comeback.
Ramping these days is like getting to 3 mana on turn 1.
Yes. Yeah, but like big mana strategies, like we have seen some success with these Time Walk decks.
It's almost all the Time Walk Scape Shift decks, right?
Yes. Scape Shift decks, Time Walk decks, as well as some Eldrazi decks are dipping into a couple of the rampant growths. And while I keep using rampant growth as the example here, the 2 mana variants, they aren't really playing cultivates. But what if your cultivate is also just a 5-drop, 4/5 flyer?
That gains you life.
Like, the cost of inclusion on this card is, the floor is that you get this ramp spell that you might not want to play in your deck, but you sure would love that.
Hold on. The question is, if you have 2 cards you wouldn't want to play by themselves together, is it worth playing? Is that what you're offering here?
Yeah, that's how adventures work, right? Like, would you play Brazen Borrower if it was just Petty Theft?
No, that's fair.
Would you play Brazen Borrower if it was
the same with the Giant? That's fair.
Would you have it with Green Eggs?
Now, to be fair, these aren't adventures, even though they look almost identical.
Yeah.
When you
cast an omen,
different
playing pattern,
like we just talked about.
Yes, a different play pattern, but like being able to draw this late game where you might not want Kodama's Reach and you just get a 4/5 in your Eldrazi strategy, or in where I kind of want to try this is Jund Scape Shift. Jund Scape Shift is a deck that saw a bit of success a while ago, like, I'm going to say 7 years ago, 8 years ago. But like, it kind of had this weird history of it showed up. You had one pilot playing it, at least locally. A pretty good player playing it, though. It was Adam Thorne of Canadian Highlander year-end championship status, playing it and doing well with it over and over again. And then just kind of disappeared. Right. And that's a deck that has gotten a lot of extra points as well with the changes. And so I think it's worth revisiting, and this is a kind of card that you could slide into that. Like, it's a niche card, is what I'm going to say.
I gotta fire back against that specifically, where one of the things about Cultivate is it fixes your lands. The fact that this only gets basic forests and a 3-color deck, like how many basic forests is your deck even running?
Well, in that deck, maybe like 4.
Yeah, that's the one thing I worry about that, because again,
those basic forests, though, often are a tutor target for the lands you're getting before you cast Scape Shift.
Yeah.
Like, you need a certain number of mountains in your deck for when your Scape Shift resolves, and you need to also avoid them
leave
on
the
your
mountains.
tutoring.
I mean, the mountains are in a better space now because of like the triomes and surveils.
Well, and not to mention, like, what are we? What card is really powerful against these Scape Shift Valakut strategies?
Blood Moon.
Blood Moon.
Sure.
Which
All
color
right.
provides the best answer to Blood Moon?
Interesting. Okay, I just worry about it specifically in like the 3-color versions, right? But that's valid. Sure.
Oh, I'm like, this card is not a slam dunk. It is just an interesting, like, hey, check out this thing that makes commander players lose their mind, and also just like 4/5 that gains some life and has flying. What if we smush them together and pick these like decks that have kind of seen like renewed interest, especially in the past year, or styles of those decks have renewed interest, and got to take advantage of this card.
Apologies, I'm actually going to snipe the next card from you there, Nelly. We have the Heritage Reclamation. I love me a good modal spell. This is a 2-mana instant for 1 and a white. Choose one. Destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard.
1
Draw
and a
a card.
green.
What did I say?
1 and a white.
The disenchant mana, or I guess it's naturalized mana.
Yeah.
Hurtful.
Well, either way, it's mine now. I love this. Are you not as excited about this?
Is this a functional reprint?
Nope.
No, we had in Bloomborough, we had something that was kind of similar. It was like very modal and had like create a food token as
Paw
one.
patch formation.
Yeah, so we've been having like increasing versions of stuff similar to this.
Nelson's thinking of Return to Nature.
Thank you. Return to Nature is blow up an artifact or an enchantment or exile 1 card from a graveyard,
No draw.
but it doesn't draw.
Yeah.
They slapped a draw onto the clause. from Return to Nature.
Strictly
That
better.
was what I was thinking of. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty exciting, actually.
And we've just been talking about how we've just been talking about this in the previous episode, and in the greater discourse of Canadian Highlander, we're talking about fair reanimate decks. Like, a lot of people are just free roll, not even free rolling. It's a point now. Are playing reanimate in their decks because it's so good. An example would be the black-red deck that took down the year-end finals. You know, the graveyard is such a huge resource, and we have Urza Sagas. We have all these terrifying threats. I don't know. I like this a lot. I think it's very strong. And I apologize for stealing that from you.
No worries. I'm going to shoot back by just talking about Nature's Rhythm out of order here. X green for a sorcery that says search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. And it has Harmonize for X green. Yeah. More Court of Calling. So this one, I guess, in terms of mana, it's kind of the closest to Invasion of Ikoria or Finale of Devastation. It only looks through your library, but it can go X or less if you're not sure. Just like put 8 mana into it and then end up getting a Thragtusk or whatever. That's allowed, unlike the Birthing Pod effect that we saw in Black earlier. So, but this one has Harmonize. Now, the other Court of Calling variants we have don't let you buy back. They maybe give you some sort of bonus, like the +10/+10 if you put enough mana into it, or the attack this battle and you get something on the other side. You get a creature. This one gives you another tutor, so it'll play like, I'm obviously planning to put this into a Craterhoof deck, but it'll also play kind of well. Admittedly, it's a bit expensive, but if you're going for A+B, like Abzan creature combos, this is 2 creature tutors in 1. And yes, the backside is very expensive, but there's not a lot of cards that do that as cleanly. Like, there's Birthing Pod, obviously, which is like its own little entity, but this is like, you know, tutoring up 2 creatures. Like, the only thing I can even think to compare is like an old favorite of mine from Ravnica, City of Guilds, that lets you look at three creatures and put them on the top of your library.
Congregation of Dawn.
Yeah, it's like if Court of Calling and Congregation of Dawn had a baby, kind of. But like, can you think of any other double creature tutors like in green? Like, there's
not in green. I mean,
like in black, you can look for
Buried
multiple
Alive
cards.
or whatever.
Yeah, Buried Alive is kind of close, right? But for sure, you know, we keep getting more decent playable creature tutors. Eventually, Crater Hoof or the Cradle Hoof deck will just be 1 mana accelerant.
Sure,
a guy
and then,
is
like
Cradle.
8 tutors, right?
Yeah.
So I have
Crater Hoof in this.
I have a question for you. I'm a huge Green Sun Zenith fan, and I always look at this and I start there first, and then like Finale Devastation or variants on that. And this is notably not green creature only, which might only be a restriction for Green Sun Zenith and not the other ones. Does that catch anyone else's brain? Is that like a significant difference enough with this, or is it just me?
I think that's just a Green Sun thing.
It's Zenith only cares about green creatures.
And so same with Natural Order. Like it's not unusual for green tutors to have a color restriction on it. This notably
Invasion of
doesn't have one.
Ikoria says non-human.
Right.
That's
Okay.
the only thing.
And Finale Devastation hits anything.
Anything. Yeah. The big one is that Invasion of Ikoria cannot get Eternal Witness. That can be a little awkward for creature combo decks that want to buy back an extra piece.
Sure.
That's like the biggest, like, oh, I can't do this. But this is just nuts, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is just really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to comment on the combo applications of this too, is that like there are a lot of these creature combo decks that can get infinite mana, and then what do we do with it?
Sure.
Right? And if you have infinite mana that you achieved because you cast this card to find your piece, then we can harmonize it back to find the sink or whatever we are going to kill them with infinite mana. And in some spots too, because it's a lot of green mana, like my mind immediately goes to, I've added infinite mana with a Devoted Druid and something. Now what am I going to do? Like, there aren't a huge number of things that you can immediately put into play that are going to guaranteed kill your opponent. But we got Bright Glass Gear Hulk. So you can find Bright Glass Gear Hulk to put Walking Ballista into your hand.
If you search for Walking Ballista, it dies as a state-based action before you can pump it. Or if people aren't familiar with that interaction,
Or let's say that we have Generate Infinite Mana and we just have this card. You get to Nature's Rhythm for part A of how I'm going to kill you, and then Harmonize for part B of how I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, that's what Nelly was mentioning, kind of like that. Yeah,
it's dope. Dope play patterns.
Very dope card.
All right, let's fix the cycle and go back to Wheeler, and then
Surak Elusive Hunter, 2 and a green for a 4/3 legendary creature human warrior. This spell can't be countered. Trample. Whenever a creature you control or a creature spell you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, draw a card. This card's pretty good.
Pretty good card.
It is a legend that you can Caracas it, but well, I guess you can Carac, like it can get Caracased is what I'm trying to say. And you just get to draw extra cards. So it is still a 3-mana card, which Caracas is pretty good at dealing with, but you get to draw cards every time they do it. And it's got Ancient Tomb mana for some reason. Remember when cards had pips?
I do.
Yeah, I'm just comparing this to Leovold, right? Like, to get this effect before, you had to pay a green, a black, and a blue, and instead you get Ancient Tomb mana now, right?
Yeah, I know we just came off of a card that has a flashback for quad green, but like, yeah, it is shocking that this card doesn't cost at least 1 green.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you can Ancient Tomb this into play. Pretty, reasonable for like a Gruul Monsters or like you want big things because this is so big. Dice the Bolt. Doesn't matter. Who cares? I drew a card.
Yeah. You ever wanted your Leovold to have Trample?
Yeah. Tax for so much damage.
Yeah.
Noble Hierarch into this card, and it's over.
It's gross.
It's unreal how much pressure this puts down.
Yep.
Yeah, powerful spell.
All right, Nelly.
Undergrowth Leopard, 1 and a green for a 2/2 cat with Vigilance, and pay 1 generic and sacrifice this, destroy target artifact or an enchantment. The long lineage of I don't know, what was the first one? Ronom Unicorns? I don't know, with
Ronom
upside.
Unicorn was like original
Bosleys, yeah.
Okay.
Long lineage of solid Bosley creatures goes on. This one's a cat. So specifically, if you're playing cats, this is the one you're going to pick every time.
Upside now.
It's otherwise equivalent to the one we got in...
What, are you talking about Outland Liberator?
No, not Outland Liberator. There's another one with Vigilance in green from Thunder Junction. I want to say it was some kind of beast.
It's some kind of like varmint.
Yeah, the varmint. It's the same as that one. That one also had Vigilance and the other ability.
Well, this one's better.
Because it's a cat.
Yes.
Yeah.
because of a Johnny Nakatl Pariah.
Sure.
Specifically, because you can sack it to flip your planeswalker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even if the only other cat in your deck is a Johnny, this one works really well with it. It doesn't say up to one target. Then it would really be
Pretty good with also.
Then it would really be bringing a Johnny his lunch every day. But yeah, it's always good to know about these Bosley type creatures because they're all quite playable. In the
Also, if you don't want to play Outland Liberator because you hate Day Night, and you just know you're going to get so many GRVs from like missing your Day Night.
Delightful.
Like, Liberator is a little bit better, but this has genuine use.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Gold Zone.
Oh no.
The first card we're going to talk about is the Auroral Procession.
It's a blue card.
So green and a blue for an instant. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand.
Oh yeah.
Now this is absolutely incredible. So obviously this is a instant speed regrowth. Regrowth is 1 and a green, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. And they have tried to iterate on this card 10 million times, and they've always kind of made it worse. So we had Noxious Revival was, I think, one of the only other cheaper instant speed. Hold on. And Noxious Revival put it on top of your library, not back into your hand. So I caught that. And they've put this on creatures. We have Eternal Witness. We've put this on sorceries or other conditions or instants. But I think, and this is where Wheeler can push his glasses up, I think this is the first time we actually just have a straight instant speed version of regrowth, period.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's pretty cool.
Put up enough qualifiers. Yes. Yeah. This is just
this is just instant speed regrowth. And that's really cool. That's so powerful.
Only 2 mana.
Yeah,
it's only 2 mana.
This card's kind of bonkers.
Yeah,
And-
it's wild.
Yeah.
And if you've never cast regrowth before, God, you should put it in more decks. It turns out it's really, really, really strong.
It's really good. It's honestly a really powerful card. That's not too surprising. It's at its best when it is targeting cards like Ancestral Recall or Time Walk.
Yeah.
But its biggest issue was always that it was a sorcery, and also that it's a green. And somehow making this mana cost more difficult to cast makes it better.
Pitches to multiple elementals.
It just pitches to Force of Wills, which sounds like a meme, but is relevant for a card like this, and relevant for the archetypes.
Now.
Yeah. Can be found off Merchant Scroll, which if you've already gotten your Ancestral Recall, you drew this Merchant Scroll, but you want to recall more, you can Merchant Scroll for this. The fact that you can do this all at end of turn as well, like end of your opponent's turn, is just like
free up your
wild.
mana. Catch them off guard.
You just get to hold up Counterspell Magic or whatever,
counter.
and then you get to fire this off. Like this, I'm so excited to play this in Scape Shift, like the Rug Turns Scape Shift deck.
Yeah.
Like it is so good.
That deck really
The instant speed also opens up a fascinating realm of counterplay, which sorcery speed regrowth never allowed. So in response to their Deathrite trigger, you can hose them off of all kinds of neat stuff. So
Yep,
absolutely.
It's food for
great.
thought.
Very exciting.
Ashiki Dragonclaw. 1 green, blue, and a red for a 4/4 legendary creature human warrior with Vigilance, Trample, and Ward 1. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell this turn, draw a card and put 2 1/1 counters on Ashiki Dragonclaw. So this card screams Commander, but like, it's... I look at this card and they put enough words on it that I like, that I want to play this card. And for what it's worth, I do have a home for this card. Like, it is a 4-mana legend without an ETB technically. Ward 1, not the biggest amount of ward, but still annoying as all hell. Like, this will prevent people from doing, like, profitably, dealing with this card.
It's like you have to tap Caracas twice.
Well, honestly, I was literally going to bring up the Krakus example. I think that is relevant,
Yeah, for sure. And then, like, double spelling the turn you play this can be a little tricky, but not impossible. And God forbid if you untap with it. Because if you untap with it and start, like, pondering into, like, a Tarmogoyf or casting a Bauble. I mean, if you cast Bauble on the turn you play this, you already fulfill the requirement. But, like, playing a Darcy and a kill spell, playing a Snapcaster Mage to flash something back, you get the trigger, and then this gets huge. The place I want to play this is an archetype that is not... it's not as widespread as it probably should be. There is a rug, like... Rug Moon, Rug Initiative style-ish deck that Pascal Maynard played.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, this is Pascal Maynard, probably one of the best Canadian Highlander players out there because he's just also one of the best players that
Magic
is
player.
playing
Yeah.
Canadian Highlander. But that is something that has been picked up, not just by him. There were some other players over in the Quebec play group that had something similar to this. And that's something that players locally, like Robin Sorensen, has tried to build around, this rug kind of shell that has gotten better with the printing of cards like Pyrogoyf and Tameo Season Scholar,
Well, we
and
even
these
had
double-face modal lands.
It's funny, from original Tarkir, we had Savage Knuckleblade,
Oh,
right?
Big Nux.
Right? And that was sort of like Rug Beatdown was an archetype before, and it feels very fitting that Ashiki here, or Eshki?
Oh, there's no second I.
I think it's just Eshki.
Sorry, Eshki, the font on our spreadsheet.
It does make it look like it's
Ashiki.
double I there, yeah.
If I see one goddamn comment
God, can't
about
believe
it,
Wheeler's never pronounced the
finish
magic
the
card properly.
goddamn video, then comment. That is my
Oh,
biggest...
no. I like the people that pause so they can add.
Well, it's good for engagement when they pause and like, actually, you did this, and then they're like, "Oops, edit."
Yeah.
They corrected themselves or found
30
it out.
seconds later. Yeah,
It's like, yeah, because you stopped to watch the video. Watch the damn video. Anyways, Eshki. I'm actually excited to try this out because that's an archetype that is something. It's an archetype that hasn't gotten the exposure that I think it deserves as far as its power level goes.
Nelly.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. Rug Baneslayer is the Baneslayer, probably. Fangkeeper's familiar. One and Assaulti, 1 black, green, blue for a 3/3 snake with flash, and when this enters, choose one. You gain 3 life and surveil 3, or destroy target enchantment, or counter target creature spell. Okay, so really interesting card here. A lot going on. At the first level, I want to say... I've forgotten the name of it now. Sorry.
Mystic Snake?
Thank you.
Mystic Snake. Yeah,
Mystic Snake.
yeah,
Thank you. New Mystic Snake. Just as hard or even harder to cast, but it's a 3/3.
It's actually easier to cast randomly.
Oh, really? Okay, fair enough. Well,
Yeah.
anyways, there's all 3 pips. But it's a 3/3, so it blocks better if that's what you want to do with it. And if that's what you want to do with it, you can get a minimum gain 3 and surveil 3. And it can only target a creature spell if you're countering something. Typically, your Mystic Snake, there's this sort of game where, you always want to counter a spell with it. If you need to, you can cast it, but you don't feel great about casting it. This one, it's kind of like a... impatient control player, or we could say bad control players Mystic Snake, where
Whoa.
it's just allowed to burn a hole in your pocket. You can just play it immediately no matter what and not feel that bad about it, because you either took away their 3rd chapter of Fable of the Mirror Breaker, or you gained 3 life and set up your draw.
It's funny that you say bad control players Mystic Snake, because I feel one of the downsides of Mystic Snake was not knowing when you're actually supposed to fire it off early as a threat.
Right. Well, this thing's not going to help you with that, because you're still not going to know if you made the right decision. You're just going to make the decision more often.
Yeah. You just feel better when you cast it early, right?
Yeah.
That's very funny, though.
I don't immediately know that this card has a home. It's not a card that jumps out to me as
Recurring
being
Nightmare.
an important one. Okay, great.
Because
it does fill your graveyard.
The surveillability over and over and over if you get it early, or you can hold it if you get it back there. But I'm excited about this. Gain 3 life and surveil 3. You play a 4-color with the 2 siege rhinos and this, and you're just churning through your graveyard. Wheeler's looking at me like I'm an idiot again. Oh yeah.
4 is a weird spot for a recurring nightmare deck to go, because it's you don't really want that to be the target of the recurring nightmare or the thing you're sacrificing the recurring nightmare.
I think this card's kind of unplayable, but
okay, same page.
I don't know. It's a Mystic Snake, so I like it.
Yeah,
I like Mystic Snakes.
Yeah,
this card's unplayable. I'm excited for the Friday night paper fight where I play this.
Yes.
Word.
Yeah.
All right. I mean,
Yeah,
I guess maybe that's what I'm talking
I think
about
that's
too.
what's going on with this card.
Yeah.
For sure. Go ahead.
All right, next up is Serge with Fellow Thar, Dawn of the Abzan. This is a 3-mana 3/3 legendary human warrior for a white, a black, and a green. We've had some very, very banger cards with this mana value in the past. Has trample, and whenever it enters or attacks, you may sacrifice a non-land permanent. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that you control. Very strong. Very, very, very powerful effect. this is the sort of thing that some people will worry about, being like, but I like my permanents. I don't want to sacrifice my permanents. And it turns out that sometimes cashing your resources in to kill your opponent is all that you need to do. Also, it's a May. So if you're in a position where it's actually bad, don't worry about it. But there are a lot of game objects in Magic the Gathering that you can just make. And if you want to turn like a treasure token into a permanent +1/+1 anthem for your team, probably a pretty good trade. There's also a lot of things that benefit when they die. You know, aristocrats.
There's just so much loose change and crap
Yeah.
lying on the ground in an
Yeah.
average Canlander game. Like, yeah, a Johnny into this is pretty exciting.
Yeah. Sacrifice a cat, flip your planeswalker.
Yeah.
Do you want to sacrifice food tokens in your food deck?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I'm trying to avoid
sometimes your
saying
food deck-
food, but you know.
sorry,
no,
2025.
No.
I just isn't even going to say the word.
Abzan game objects.
Yeah.
I think this card is totally
Coincidentally,
fine for
a lot
that.
of food tokens.
And then,
in
like,
Abzan.
what I will say is, although it's a very powerful trigger that puts +1/+1 counters, I don't know if I love this in a +1/+1 counters deck, just because usually the pieces that you're using to establish, like the hardened scales and the make +1/+1 counters cards, mean that you don't have a ton of creatures, and this one wants you to be wide. But you could maybe be in an Abzan token strategy.
Not to knock this. Well, I mean, I guess I should knock this card. This is literally a review of it.
Yeah.
I don't like that you can't sack your own lands, because that is a thing that aggressive decks are like.
Oh, would love to catch
three
lands.
mana.
I actually
Oh
didn't-
yeah, I'll cash in my
I'm
land.
going to be honest. I didn't even register that it said non-land. I was thinking
Yeah.
about sacking lands.
that might be the make or break for this card.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't sack your lands, but you can sack one of your creatures to make the rest of them, to like improve your total amount of power.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Not sacking your lands.
Yeah. Not
sucks.
sacking lands might be
Wow.
a bit of a deal breaker
Yeah.
for me.
Huge. All right, Wheeler.
Flamehold Grappler. Blue, red, and a white for a 3/3 human monk with first strike. It says, when this creature enters, copy the next spell you cast this turn. When you cast it, you may choose new targets for the copy. Look, I was going to play this card no matter what. It has Mantis Rider mana. Like,
I
as
was
the
curious about that.
godfather of Jeskai.
And this is good enough?
What? You think that's not right?
No, I just love that you can, it's another year and you've still got more ways to reinvent yourself.
I didn't
and I'm
say
just
premier.
enjoying.
I'm not the premier Jeskai pilot.
Sure.
There are better players playing Jeskai better than I would.
Okay.
But you got to know your history.
Right.
And Benny Wheels was making some buku bucks.
So what do you-
I am shocked. I am shocked that this is a 2025 Jeskai card.
What are you hoping to cast other than
Ancestral
Ancestral
Recall.
Recall?
Anything.
Other than Ancestral-
Anything.
Okay,
What? Are
great.
you nuts? Yeah.
You're happy
Lightning
this is
Bolt.
you're happy this
It
is
does
a
just say
4-mana
next
card?
spell. You can cast another creature if you want.
Lightning Bolt. Ponder.
Moxen.
Gataxian Probe. Swords to Plowshares.
Hold on.
Path to
Copy the
Exile.
next spell. So if you cast a permanent,
It becomes a
Yeah,
copy.
it becomes a copy.
Yeah.
I play a Flamehold Grappler. I then proceed to play, I don't know, anything, dude. Like Esper Sentinel is real annoying.
Don't play a legendary creature.
I get 2 Dreadhorde Arcanists.
Ledger Shredder.
I was thinking
Ledger
of DRC.
Shredder.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Darcy, double Dragon's Rage Channeler.
Yeah.
I like this card quite a bit.
Interesting.
It's, again, kind of sounds like a meme, but the fact that this pitches to
Everything.
everything, like that you just have a card that is always going to pitch to Force, Solitude, and Fury or Pyrokinesis. And that, like, you could play this as a 3-mana 3/3 first strike, and that's not that embarrassing. Like, that is a body that can take over a board. But obviously, it gets better if you just cast this and play like a Mishra's Bauble, a Moxen, any of the other cards. Like, I don't think you need to get fancy.
Reanimate.
I don't think you need to get fancy. Like this into like Mental Note. Hell yeah. I'm drawing 2 cards. I got a Murktide region coming down next turn. Hell, great.
Interesting. All right. Nelly.
Frontline Rush. Sorry. Red, white for an instant. Choose one. Create 2/1/1 red goblin creature tokens, or target creature gets +X/+X on the turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So we've got your Dragon Fodder and your, remind me, Mirrodin. 2/1/1 soldiers, instant speed.
Raise the alarm.
Raise the alarm.
Yeah.
They had a baby, so now you can still raise the alarm.
Didn't you say the same mode? What?
Well, no, he's saying Dragon Fodder because it makes 2 goblins, but raise the alarm because it's an instant.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the example for the other mode.
Nope, not yet. Haven't gotten there yet. So yeah, for
Sorry,
this
I'm
first
sorry,
mode,
I'm sorry.
at instant speed for admittedly a red and a white, so the hardest to cast you can make this. You get instant goblin creatures, not some other less relevant creature type, since they all are less relevant than goblin. And also an instant, you get +X/+X for X number of creature you control. Massive Might, or might of the Masses. Is that
Might
what
of
this
the
effect
Masses,
is?
yeah.
That's what this effect is. Usually seen in green,
I was
although
gonna say,
white.
have we ever seen it not in green?
Well, white has creatures that are as big as like Crusader of Audric. Like there's been several
But
several
like as
white
a combat
effects.
trick specifically.
I don't know if this might be the first time we've seen it outside of green.
Yeah.
But anyways, glad of it.
Keldon Warlord sends its regards.
Exactly. Yeah. Thraben Charm counts the number of creatures you have and deals damage, right?
Yeah, they've
Something like
started
that?
count the amount of creatures you have, do a thing in white a lot more.
Yes, exactly. I don't know if they've given the +X/+X where you count the number of creatures in white before, but that's great. So you've got the role player that the tokens decks are always jamming in another Raise the Alarm, and you've got a way to take out an opposing creature on blocks or win the game as an option for your spell. Very exciting.
Just like an auto include in any token stack that
Wild.
can cast it.
Yeah, it's very
good.
strong.
Yep.
All right, next up we have Glacierwood Siege. For 1, a green and a blue, you get an enchantment. As it enters, choose Temur or Sultai. For the Temur side, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, target player mills 4 cards. Okay. Sultai, you get another copy of Crucible of Worlds,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. Now, this is the second enchantment Crucible we got because Duskmourn gave us that
The room.
the room that had a side.
Walk-in closet.
Walk-in closet. I don't know when you'd ever want to cast the Temur side, but the 3 mana enchantment Crucible World seems kind of great. We've got like 6 copies of this now. At 3 mana, it's very exciting because I think the room was 4 mana.
Room's 3 mana.
Is the room also 3 mana?
Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
Is there a world where like you're underworld breaching and this Temur side helps you? Like, of course there is, but you probably wouldn't choose to include it in your deck for that reason. I'm trying to answer your question about the Temur side. I feel like, you're putting this deck in for the Sultai side, and then let us know in the comments what board state you...
Land stacks could just kill you once they have the Crucible in play. Like, you can maybe be like, well, if I have it on Sultai and I generate infinite mana and all that, and then I get to bounce this and I switch it to Temur, and then I play the spells.
You're already just winning if you have
killing.
Crucible. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Wheeler.
Hollow Merc Siege. Black and a green for an enchantment. As this enchantment enters, choose Sultai or Abzan. Sultai, whenever a counter is put on a creature you control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. And Abzan, whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature, it gains menace until end of turn. This card's great. It's 2 mana, and both of these are relevant.
Very relevant.
In counter stacks.
Yeah.
If you are a black-green X or just black-green counters, both of these are good. You don't even have to be a counters deck, honestly. Like, if you're like a black mold style deck, like we saw in this past top 8 for the year end, we saw Jason Jobin playing a Golgari mid-rangey kind of aggressive deck. Like, just menace and additional counters.
Yeah,
it's
it's a
just
lot
you're gonna
of
push
pressure.
so much damage. My God.
Yeah, black-green Luminarch Aspirant.
So Luminarch Aspirant, is good enough to play in a mid-range deck. I actually want to talk about the Sultai side recently. So I brought to recent Monday night Naya +1/+1 counters, and it felt too fair. I just sat down in a room full of combo decks and even aggressive decks, and I was just thinking to myself, what am I presenting as a threat here that's actually good? And the card that I felt made the biggest impact every single time I played it was actually Dusk Legion Loyalist, which is a 2 mana 2/2 vampire for 1 and a white. But importantly, whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, draw a card. And those were the engine cards that I actually felt like, oh, now I see why you'd play counters. It's not just to make a big dumb idiot creature. Like, what is the multiplier that you're getting? And I think Abzan on an empty board, if you're trying to play pressure, sure, like another Luminarch Aspirant is great. The menace is really strong, and that helps. But that Sultai mode, that's the side that I'm like, oh, if you can have that work.
Yeah, the real strength is the flexibility, right? Is that like what draw do you have that you need to like fill in the blanks, right? Do I already have a bunch of pressure and a bunch of cards that are going to get incrementally larger? Then great, I can play this as Sultai.
Yeah.
Or like, do I have my Dusk Legion, Legionnaire or whatever it's called, and do I need to start putting counters on the card? Then you can pick Abzan. And worth noting, like you talked about, what you're doing is fair. Adding black to your counters deck provides an additional amount of flexibility in like how you're using your cards, right? Like Unearth, Reanimate being options, removal that can kill a Psychic Frog. You could even be on a deck with Psychic Frog, right?
The tricky thing with that +1/+1 deck is the number of payoffs that you have, and I guess the payoff is you're killing your opponent. But I'm really zoning in on that Sultai side as like I think this is the secret sauce.
It's a good card. It's 2 mana.
It's only 2 mana.
2 mana.
Kishla Skimmer.
Nailed it.
I read that like 4 times.
Like it was a legend.
Yeah, no, I read it like 4 times and I still couldn't figure out where
Kishla Skimmer.
Kishla Skimmer. Green blue for a 2/2 Bird Scout with flying, and whenever a card leaves your graveyard during your turn, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay, so if you had it in your Dredge deck, it'd be pretty exciting. And then also just in your Crucible of Worlds deck.
Anything with Delve.
Yeah, anything with Delve.
Just play Ghost Vacuum.
Ghost Vacuum.
Ghost Vacuum.
So it's got a lot of applications for a 2 mana 2/2 flyer.
Yep.
A lot of ways this also turns into drawing you a card every turn. That's just kind of an unreal amount of power, and the fact that this isn't like the most exciting card in this set review gives you a pretty solid window into what card design in 2025 is like.
Shaman.
I mean, It is kind of Ketramos at home, but it's also in green, in blue, and it's only 2 mana, and like always just hits for 2 in the air. Yeah. I'm excited to try this for blue-green flying men or like blue-green skies, because there are a lot of like there's a reasonable amount of like cheap evasive creatures in green now, and that deck just plays a lot of Delve cards. You lose the mana denial stuff, but you get more like scaling cards. Yes, exactly. You just get more of an ability to like kind of transition into the late game instead of being like, I hope that we don't have a late game because you can't cast anything.
Right.
And that's kind of neat.
Tons of value.
Oh, pardon me. Next up, we have the Mardu Siege Breaker. This is a 4 mana 4/4 human warrior for 1, a red, a white, and a black. It has Death Touch and Haste. And when this creature enters, exile up to 1 other target creature you control until this creature leaves the battlefield. Whenever this creature attacks, for each opponent, in our case 1, create a tapped token that's a copy of the exiled card attacking that opponent. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice those tokens. So this gives you a repeatable on-attack ETB of any other creature you have in play. And my mind immediately goes to Mardu Initiative. Because imagine every time you attack, you get to create a copy of White Plume Adventurer or what's it called? Caves of Chaos Adventurer, and just turbo your way through. Obviously, there's a lot of other very powerful effects in Mardu that have ETBs. I think you want to play it in that style of deck. Also, it's a 4 mana 4/4 with Death Touch and Haste. That isn't a legend. So you don't even have to worry about like Krakus gumming stuff. And when this creature dies, you also get your creature back. So you get another ETB when they remove it. I like this.
It's not even dies. It's just when it leaves play.
Oh, sure.
Like,
yeah,
Sure.
You
You can
know,
ephemerate this.
You can ephemerate this. If
Just
you
put
want.
the same creature back or a
if
different one.
They swords it or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mardu Ephemerate, new hotness just dropped. Also, Siegebreaker is a weird name for a giant chicken.
Yeah, why isn't this human chicken warrior? Good call,
Yeah.
good call.
No, great card.
They don't want to seed us for the Final Fantasy set?
That could have been a chocobo.
I'm kind of more interested into these like purple snakes. Like, what's up? What's going on with these?
What is
purple-
happening there?
Purple, give me these purple ghost snakes.
Go ahead.
Rakshas's Bargain. This is one of the mana costs of all time.
You said you wanted pips
Okay.
in the last episode, or no, earlier today. You
So
said-
this is part of a cycle. I think it's a multi-rarity cycle where each card is attached to a different clan with mana value 2 and 1 of the colored pips hybrid. So much like how Spectral Procession was 2 colorless or a white, 2 colorless or a white, 2 colorless or a white. The Rakshas's Bargain, being a Sultai card, is 2 colorless and a black, 2 colorless and a green, 2 colorless and a blue. So you can cast this for so many different ways.
it's really like deep in the sauce of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this explanation is longer than the text on the card. So what I'm going to say is this is for a Sultai, instant, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. In a Sultai control style list, I really like this card. The one issue is we don't see a huge amount of Sultai control. We do occasionally see check pile lists, but those lists tend to play cheaper kind of pieces of card selection. You really got to get a bit grindy. You got to be on the like Blake Rasmussen Sultai lists because
the called shot.
This is 3 mana, which is a lot of. I mean, technically it's 6, which I love for up the beanstalk, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And it doesn't draw the cards, so you get around the Hull Breacher and the Orcish Bowmasters and what.
Yeah.
And it puts them in the graveyard, not just back on the bottom of the library. So you're Sultai, you have blue, you have a Inoculus and Murktide Region and whatnot. You're going to use your graveyard. So in a Sultai strategy that is a bit slower, or even just like mid-range and you want to play another piece of selection, this card is great. We missed Stock Up on the Aether Drift set review, which is like 2 in a blue sorcery, look at the top 5, put 2 into your hand, which has been making waves in a lot of different formats, standard, legacy, vintage, and whatnot. That's a card that does get better when you have 3 to 4 of them, and your opponents reliably have 4 Orcish Bowmasters in their lists, but it is a powerful kind of effect and something that you need to keep in mind when you are playing, especially more expensive draw cards or card selection, is like you may get Bowmasters into the dirt. Like, you may brain surge and then lose the game. And this gets around it. So if you can cast this, I recommend casting this because it's quite good.
Very good. Skirmish Rhino. White, black, green for 3/4 Rhino with trample. When creature enters, each opponent lose 2 life and you gain 2 life. Ook. Yeah, this is an uncommon. Yeah, that's where we're at. New Siege Rhino, 1 less mana, 1 less power toughness, 1 less life lost and life gained. But did I say 1 less mana? Because it costs 1 less mana. By the way, it costs 1 less mana.
Yeah, you can unearth this.
You can unearth
and
this.
Helping Hand.
Pretty messed up.
Sabine's Reclamation.
Oh, God.
Recommission.
It's also
Sun Titan trigger.
Yeah, it's the mana value that lines up with the amount of energy made by Chthonian Nightmare.
Yep. All these things are correct. It's also a mana that costs 1 less than Siege Rhino.
Yeah, you can play this on turn 2.
Yeah.
As soon as this card was first spoiled, I immediately started thinking of, man, when was the last time I sleeved up Recurring Nightmare? Because that was the whole purpose of the original Recurring Nightmare deck, was just have the way I play Recurring Nightmare is fair Recurring Nightmare. Like, I don't have any of the big Haymaker, Reanimate. It's like a fair mid-range grindy deck that just attritions people out by going through your graveyard over and over and over, like Voice of Resurgence into Siege Rhino and back and forth. But now you can just loop Siege Rhinos.
Sure.
Oh, baby.
Yeah. With Chthonian Nightmare.
I do want to give a bit of a shout out to Sandy B. Because one of the ways that you can kill in Sandy B, Sandra Bullock, aka Pattern Rector, is looping Siege Rhino. Or an initiative creature is kind of the evolution of that.
Sure.
Is that like one of the loops that you can have in your deck just uses a card that you would be playing anyways. And while that style of deck has moved to playing like Underbound Adventurer, you might not be on White Plume Adventurer or even Seasoned Dungeoneer, depending on your build, right? But White Plume is points now, so you might not have that in your deck. And this is a way that if you create a loop with ETBs, often involving like Safi Eric's Daughter and Karmic Guide and whatnot, you can just kill your opponent, and you can do so through the One Ring, which is very important. Because going through the initiative targets and being able to just each opponent, like, it sounds like a very niche little thing scenario, but like, it's...
Play enough games, it comes up, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and the fact that it can do that
Also,
is huge.
the One Ring, like, sure, the scenario of you need to combo target them while they have protection feels a little niche, but the One Ring is extremely not niche card. It's in
everywhere.
almost every deck.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, and obviously there's a bunch of other ways that you can do what Wheeler just described, but this is on a card that you also just want to be playing with and attacking.
Yeah. You can just play this in Abzan, like, beat down
Yep.
mid range.
Elf
Like triple
is turn
mocks
2,
this,
right?
like-
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
play this with any of the hierarchs. I don't know where
Sure.
that word went in
Yes.
my
Yeah.
brain,
Yeah.
right?
Just attack
Absolutely.
for 4 on turn 3.
Absolutely.
Play your other rhino.
Yeah. Play other rhino.
Whee!
All right. Next up, we have the Song Crafter Mage. This is a 3-mana 3/2 human bard for a green, a blue, and a red. It has flash, and when this creature enters, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains Harmonize until end of turn. Its Harmonize cost is equal to its mana cost. So we have an interesting pseudo Snapcaster,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is kind of fun here.
It is just Snapcast.
Yeah.
It's just Snapcaster,
3
isn't
mana.
it? Yeah, 3-mana,
Yeah.
3/2 Snapcaster with a potential cost discount. I'm trying to see if there's any gotcha, like Harmonize can only be as a sorcery, or you can actually potentially play this, block, and then tap this to discount the
Yep.
spell for the Harmonize as well, which is kind of cracked. Cool.
Yeah, this card's dope.
I
It's
don't know
that's-
why. I read this before. Like, this is not my first time seeing it, but for whatever reason, under the context of reading this now, I'm just like, oh.
So you're telling me I can cast Time Warp and then untap and then cast pay this and 2 more blue mana and tap this thing for a Time Warp?
That's actually kind of wild.
Brother, I'm in.
That's very strong. Obviously, it being in 3 different colors does make it significantly less ubiquitous than Snapcaster would. Like, Snapcaster was eternally splashable.
Dude, I'm gonna
But-
time walk all over the place with
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm gonna escape shift
Yeah.
everywhere.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
This is very spicy. This is very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, strong card.
Temur Battle Crier. Green, blue, and a red for a 4/3 Orc Ranger. During your turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. So that's like a pretty reasonable ability. But this is just kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a vanilla dork. But, like, I don't know. Threats can kill people. The fact that it has 3 toughness makes this not great. I'm actually kind of surprised it has 3 toughness.
I'll admit, when I looked at this one in the preview, I just saw like power 4 or greater and spells are cheaper, and I didn't read the sentence right. I thought it was just going to affect creatures with power 4 or greater, but there's actually a lot of way more exciting lines you can hit.
So
with this.
is this our first Electromancer that's ever actually had a body worth being a threat? Because a lot of like Electromancers typically show up in spells matters almost semi-combo-y lists.
right? But this
where
one just
you're-
wants to attack.
Like, yeah, you've got your Brawl, you've got your Electromancer, you've got I can't really even name any
Storm
other
Chaser
ones.
Drake. You
Yeah.
got the Ral.
That green red creature from Modern Horizons,
An Acromancer.
an Archomancer. Or whatever.
So does this open up like a new archetype that makes it fun, or does it just feel like it doesn't belong anywhere?
No. It doesn't. Yeah, like the strength of Electromancers, which they don't actually see much play because they're not that great anymore. Like, there's just so much cheap removal that even like you can maybe try to build a Storm variant or a High Tide variant with them, but like it's not always worth it. Like, you're not seeing it in like top performing combo decks.
Actually, I do have to do this. Doesn't only hit non-creature spells; it does hit all spells.
Yeah, all your spells are
like
all your
maybe
spells are
maybe
cheap.
like a wet gruel monsters where suddenly your dragons are dirt cheap. Is that a thing that we care about?
Teamer Monsters was right
Teamer
there.
Monsters could be a thing, and like
you
making
like teamer monsters instead of wet gruel.
Said it again.
wet gruel dragon. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just don't want to talk about this card anymore after that. Like,
that's valid.
yeah, you could play this and make your things cheaper, and that's cool. But also there are times where this is just like cost reduction did not matter, and also this died to lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Yeah, or traded with like any of the like Vendilion Clique, Tishana's Tidebinder style
Sure.
cards.
Nelly.
Ureni, the Song Unending, 5 green, blue, red for a 10/10 legendary spirit dragon. So I needed to turn it into like Smash Brothers there for a second. It has flying and protection from white and black. And when Ureni enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. Move over. Dragon Lord Tarka, we've got a new flex slot that we need to natural order into. I think that's exactly where you're going to be using it. I'm not sure if you're playing it somewhere else. Do you want to reanimate this?
No, probably not.
Just natural order, right?
I mean, pro white, pro black is like kind of absurd.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
How do you kill this?
Yeah, that Still Moon Cavalier card from Eventide still gets played in Vintage.
It gets played in Vintage. Well,
Vintage. Man.
Yeah, unfortunately, Psychic Frog and Bowmasters exist.
Yeah,
which caused
exactly.
that. But like, you know, what are you going to do? Swords this?
Right.
I was thinking about this next to Lumra from Bloomborough, the 6-mana bear that ETBs mills a bunch of cards when it leaves play, puts all the lands in your graveyard into play.
Okay.
So maybe there's already a shell where you're trying to specifically like reanimate lands matter cards over and over, but you could probably just be reanimating more interesting stuff at the same time.
Interesting. Yawgmoth's Jacuzzi Erasure on the stream.
We've just never heard of that.
That deck isn't real and can't hurt me.
I'm pretty sure I definitely demolished Nelson with it. I may have demolished you with it too.
I have no
Remember it was
recollection
the
of this
Fast
moment.
Bond Second Sunrise Lands Legends Reanimator deck?
I've blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah.
I
Right,
went to
fine.
therapy
That was-
enough times.
That was a great dream you had, Wheeler, where that happened.
No, I'm sure it happened.
What do you mean, Dream? Why can't I read these cards?
So you can be on natural order, or you can be on like a lands combo situation where you're getting a ton of mana from your lands, and then this could be an option.
I just
as
want
well.
a natural order for this. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is just like a hoof card.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Word.
because it deals a Tark only. Well, it deals 8.
A
doesn't
Tarkir
it?
deals 5.
5. Oh, it's only 5. Right.
Look,
So it's 8
I-
power and toughness.
I
Right? Yeah.
have natural ordered into a Tarkir somewhat recently, and it felt bad. Like I was
Yeah.
just like, I'll
Like,
kill.
I'm a genius. I'm going to grab a Tark.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
I'll kill one thing.
Yeah, I also natural ordered into a Tarkir recently, and I was like, it feels weird that seems like there should be something better for me to be doing. But yeah, I just need to kill your creatures, so I guess I'll get this thing.
And like natural ordering into this when you only have 3 or 4 lands is not super exciting, but who cares? You have a 10/10
Yeah, you
pro
have a
white, pro
10/10,
black flyer
yeah.
that you did kill the one card you cared
Yeah.
about.
I love that it's a 10/10 pro white, pro black.
Yes.
Yeah, that part's.
I like that it kind of looks like it has a cowboy hat on.
It does
Yeah,
look like
was
a
this
bird
did
hat.
I steal this art from Thunder Junction?
Who is this random homie just watching the dragon fly overhead?
It's another Timmer card that's like, whoop.
Kishla Skimmer.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the final gold card. This is from the Commander product, Zergo Storm Render. This is a 3-mana legendary orc warrior for a red, a white, and a black. It's a 3/3 with Mobilize 1, so whenever this creature attacks, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. But whenever a creature token you control leaves the battlefield, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, each opponent loses 1 life. So this is actually just a really cool Aristocrats card.
Like it's a blood artist that's a 3/3 for 3.
Yeah, that also makes stuff. It's a little bit weird because it has to attack to make the bodies, and it only drains specifically for tokens, but it's a little bit flexible, specifically if you're in like a no green slot.
I do think this is mostly just tokens, not
Oh, you think
Aristocrats.
sorry, this is tokens, not Aristocrats?
Yeah.
That's valid.
Yeah, I think I just want to play this in a triple Mox deck that is going to like make tokens, have them die at some point in time, and be okay when that happens.
Just be happy with a 3-mana 3/3 and don't think of it in the sort of the combo shell.
Are the Aristocrats players actually spoiled enough now that they can turn their nose down at a new blood artist?
Well, it's just it doesn't trigger off of half of your things, which is
Yeah.
a
That
little
was
awkward.
that's the part that I was worried about,
Yeah.
but it's kind of spicy. I
feel like I'd still want to.
Great.
We don't have much else to say. All right.
I'd want to try an Aristocrats.
Tokens, maybe Aristocrats, weigh in, comments section, dearly beloved. Let's move on. Wheeler.
Dragonfire Blade. This is a 1-mana equipment artifact that says equip creature gets +2/+2 and has hexproof from monocolored with equip for 4 generic, but this ability costs 1 less to activate for each color of the creature it targets. So this is a bit expensive to equip. It is only 1 mana to actually cast, and that ability of +2/+2 and hexproof for monocolored is kind of huge, right? Like most of the removal we play is monocolored, but that equip I can't get past that equip.
It's so funny because it's like very reminiscent of the OG swords and is simultaneously more flexible but infinitely worse.
Yeah, I think this was originally probably going to be a sort of X and Y that they then like had to figure something else out.
Yeah.
Like it just
Even the art, right?
yes, because of the artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This card's just kind of fair. right?
Yeah, it's a little too fair.
Like, sure, you can pay 1 mana for it, and then maybe you're going to pay 1 mana to put it on your Mantis Rider or whatever.
You can equip it to something for free.
Yeah, sure. You could put it on Omnath for free, but it's and it's just like, congrats, you made Omnath a 6/6.
We made Omnath
monocolored.
good, finally.
It's just whatever it does. It sort of feels like you kind of had to jump through some hoops to just sort of get your giant growth. I don't know.
We talked about it in the first part of this, where like equipment is more exciting when it's goes beyond just numbers,
Right.
And like the keywords or whatever. Unless it's dirt cheap, and this is not dirt cheap for the equipment.
Yeah.
Nelly.
Mox Jasper. 0 mana for a legendary artifact that says tap to add 1 mana of any color. Activate only if you control a dragon. Hey, congrats, Watsy. You made a Mox that we don't care about. That's sort of an achievement. I mean, it's got the beautiful Stephen Belladin art. And, they picked a cool name for it. Jasper is... it's not a mineral, right? Like, is Jasper like a kind of amber or something like that?
I'll look it
Some
up.
sort of precious stone that's weird and Canadian. We've got a city in Alberta named Jasper.
In the
That's
prairies,
a beautiful place.
yeah.
It's in the
Before it
mountains.
caught on fire.
It's in the Alberta mountains. Yeah.
So I do have to
soon.
ask, while we look up what a Jasper actually is, do we play Mox Amber ever?
Very rarely.
Rare.
Mox Amber being the one that you can
Rarely.
tap if you control a legendary permanent, and even in the Naya Legends Matter deck, I don't know if I've seen that card.
right.
Maybe?
You can play it absolutely, especially now that we've got Tameo.
Sure.
There are 1 mana legends that are good. There's more of them now.
Yeah, Ragavan. All right,
sure.
Wheeler's got an answer. What is a Jasper?
Oh no. Jasper, an aggregate of microgranular quartz and or cryptocrystalline chalcedony
It is a mineral.
and other mineral phases, is an opaque, impure variety of silica, usually red, yellow, brown, or green in color, and rarely blue. Okay, those are all the colors. They're all the colors.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, it's
Did he go?
it's
But it
rocks.
taps-
It's a rock.
It's all the colors. Add
Yeah.
1 mana of any color, it works.
So yeah,
It's thematic.
Chalcedone? Chalcedone.
nice.
Oh, I've never encountered that word.
Okay, so we all learned a little bit about precious stones.
Yeah.
Don't play this.
Yeah, this is one of the cards that we very rarely like to include cards that we say this is bad, but we know. But what about the new Mox? It has the word Mox in it, and you're the Mox format.
What
Not this one.
about dragons? It's like, well, we've already had to use real moxen to cast our dragons.
Yeah, our dragons are coming down on turn 4.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. The final colorless card we're going to talk about is Ugin, Eye of the Storms. Talking about dragons. This is a 7 mana planeswalker, enters with 7 loyalty, has a static ability and an ETB. It's not even ETB, it's a cast trigger. When you cast this spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. So the up to 1 means you don't hose yourself if your opponent has nothing. When you cast a colorless spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. +2 ability. You gain 3 life and draw a card. 0 ability, add 3. These are the colorless pips.
Colorless mana.
So not generic mana. This is
3
specifically
wingdings.
colorless mana. And in -11, search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards, exile them, then shuffle. Until your turn, you may cast those cards without paying their mana cost.
It's really cool that they made a planeswalker that is only colorless mana that says when you cast this, win the game. When you cast additional things, you win the game.
Yeah.
And if you ultimate this, you win the game.
Please, it's my turn to make the evaluation here.
I think of it as
So
a
it's
4
really
mana
cool
planeswalker.
that they made a colorless planeswalker that when you cast this, you win the game. When you cast any other colorless spell, you win the game, and it has an ultimate ability for you win the game. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to say?
I really like that
Yeah?
we got a set review with a colorless card shell game that Serge got to win, where both of us got cards where it was like, oh, we should probably talk about this for a second.
Adding on to that, Nelson, I do think that we have to at least point out that it is a 7 mana planeswalker with a cast trigger that wins the game. When it's in play, if you cast other colorless spells, you win the game, and it has an ultimate that when you use it, you do win the game.
That's a great point.
Anything else to add?
The other 2 abilities are sick too.
I can't wait to win the game with Tolarian Academy.
So we have mono green Eldrazi. is
Sure.
a pretty real deck in our format. There's an episode of Showdown where I have probably the least fun game of Magic I've experienced in a while, where Wheeler just not Wheeler, Nelly.
I was going to ask you. Frog Green draws
that
you too.
can't be true. You
got to play Magic with Nelly.
No, I mean the least favorite, because the last Showdown that went up, not to date this,
my God.
you called me a piece of garbage.
Yeah, but he was having fun doing that.
Yeah,
I guess
that's true.
Serge was just sitting there
hold
being
on.
polite while I channeled him.
So I will acknowledge that I don't think I've ever been more tilted on camera than that game we recorded. Fair. But he turn one channeled me, Wheeler.
Oh yeah, that's uncalled for. That's the kind of thing that after that happens, you're like, so do we want to restart recording?
The children.
No. I'm glad.
Blood.
I'm glad that game made it on camera. You want to play this in Academy?
Oh God, yeah.
Just anywhere you can cast it.
Yeah, I guess every artifact you cast, every rock.
So
This card's messed up.
Paradox Engine decks and certain Academy decks, be them combo or ramp, have in the past played the 8-mana Ugin, Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
Yep.
As a look, I just generate so much mana, and at times I generate infinite colorless mana.
Sure.
It's nice to have something to come down and kind of reset the board. That is more of a product of when there were a ton of go wide decks. I know we've talked about how good tokens is, but that was, back when players are like, I'm going to play a 1-drop and a 2-drop and a 3-drop and a 4-drop, and I'm not going to stop because I don't know what Wrath of God is. And then they get Wrath of God.
How could this happen?
And so while this doesn't clear the board by itself the same way that Ugin the Spirit Dragon would, this can't just clear the thing you care about and then immediately gain life and put it at
plus the plus
or,
2?
The plus 2 being I'm going to gain some life, I'm going to put this to 9 loyalty and draw a new card, which I may draw a cheap artifact or cheap colorless thing to then trigger Ugin again. Or if you have a 3 mana or less artifact in hand, you just play it, exile a thing, 0 add mana, cast your Basalt Monolith, exile a thing.
Yeah,
the play patterns of this card are absurd.
Yeah.
God, I can't believe I'm saying this because I think they always deserve what they get for playing such a garbage format, but I feel bad for modern players.
Right, because now they have to face this on turn 3.
Yeah, just again, they're signing up for that, and I know that, there's bigger issues in modern right now than Tron or whatever, but just I don't know, the play patterns of this card are wild. Here's my Ugin, Chalice of the Void, turn 3, exile your 2 things, go ahead. Shouldn't have banned Breach.
All right. So the final thing that we have to talk about today is actually just the cycle of new lands.
Yes.
But they are all mechanically unique. They're all mechanically different. So we're just going to go through them in order.
Yeah, I mean, we can cover that they all have, if we want to speed round this, Quarry Mountain Monastery is the red one. So they all have a clause of this land enters tapped unless you control a...
They're buddies.
Yes,
whatever they
buddy lands.
Yep.
And they're all centered around the wedge. So Quarry Mountain Monastery, taps to add a red, enters tapped unless you control a plains or an island, and has the activated ability of 3 and a red, tap, exile the top card of your library. Till the end of your next turn, you may play that card.
Thoughts on this one?
I don't hate it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Honestly, the cost of inclusion for these is lower than a lot of the utility lands we've seen. Eldraine kind of gave us a cycle that gives me the same vibe, right? They enter untapped if you have a certain condition, and they provide some type of card advantage or something cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want this in big red? It gets turned off by your Blood Moon, but you don't really care.
Well, it comes into play tapped.
Well, yeah, big red in this case, you specifically need to be a 3-color
deck. The awkward part about these compared to the MH3 cycle that comes into play tapped unless you control and then that land.
Yeah,
right?
the blue if you control an island. Yeah.
Yes, is that these are not as good in monocolored decks.
For sure, right? Which is where you normally have the flex slots for utility lands.
Yeah,
but I can't think of another deck that really cares about the activated ability.
I mean, I could see this one seeing play
I mean, again, I can, but where? But
just I don't know, I could see a Boros deck or a 3-color deck that just plays this because if they're out of cards at the end of their opponent's turn, they could just exile that and get additional things. The cost is a bit high, but that is a genuinely powerful effect.
Yep.
Is it Nivixary?
It's
we don't need to.
No,
yeah,
it probably is. Actually,
this card exists in a way. Is what I'm trying
it makes me think of Desolate Lighthouse. If you're playing Desolate Lighthouse still, you could maybe try this instead.
But nobody's playing Desolate.
Yeah, I know.
All right, next one.
Dalkovan Encampment. Dalkovan Encampment?
Sure.
This is the white one, so it comes in tapped unless you have a swamp or a mountain. And for 2 and a white and tap it, whenever you attack this turn, create 2 1/1 red warrior creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next step. This one's a bit easier to
Slam
fit in.
dunk.
So put this into your red white X tokens decks. Maybe even your black white like attrition decks. Maybe
Like it just
aristocrats?
it makes tokens.
Yeah.
For 4 mana. That's
whenever
not
you
bad.
whenever you attack, you get a free mobilize 2, basically,
Yeah. Yep.
and for 4 mana, including tapping this one. So this one a lot easier to find a home for.
Sure. Next up, we have the Great Arashan City. This is the Abzan one, taps for black. 1 and a black, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token. I feel like this is a worse version of the Innistrad card.
Moorland Haunt.
Moorland Haunt.
yeah.
Specifically because these spirits don't fly.
Yeah, God, I hate that. I'm still not used to
Yeah.
the fact there's a bunch of spirits in the
The plus side to this is Moorland Haunt tapped for colorless. This adds a colored pip, which maybe makes it a little bit better because it's not as much of a tax on your mana base.
I think it's unfair to say it's a worse version because it does add a color of mana and only requires a single color of mana to actually use it.
Moorland Haunt was white, blue, and tap to do it.
And only tap for a colorless.
Yeah.
But I could see this in like a black-green deck or even a black-white deck that like this, when you talked about the white one, you're like, I could see this in a black-white attrition-y kind of deck.
Sure.
I would be more interested in playing this one.
In an attrition deck? Sure. Yeah. That's fair. Wheeler.
Then we have Kishla Village. This is the green one, centered around Sultai, so tapped unless you control an island or a swamp, and has pay 3 and a green, tap, surveil 2. I like this one because it adds green, and green decks like adding green, and green black decks also like surveilling. Sorry, I know it sounds like I'm making a bit, but like green decks often will have more forests and
Right.
want early green
More
to get mana dorks or
green
whatever.
sources, yeah.
And so like playing this for that only taps for mono green is a little more defensible in like a 2-color or 3-color deck. And Surveil 2 is pretty good. It's just like, what if we always got to draw the card we needed?
I will say, like, to counter your point, though, I just want to say when you're building your decks, if they have a bunch of mana accelerants, you're specifically looking for sources, like land sources and your moxes that add green on turn 1, and you don't get to count that among their number. But what Wheeler says is also valid.
This isn't casting a turn 1 mana dork. Unless your opponent played Urborg.
Yeah.
Ooh. They turn 1 your reward for the alley-oop.
Oh, yeah.
Hilarious.
Mistrise Village is the blue one. It enters tapped and lets you control a mountain or a forest, and it adds a blue. And for a blue and tap it, the next spell you cast this turn can't be countered.
This
one's good.
This one's correct.
God.
So this one and the white one are good, and then the other ones are sort of playable.
Remember when we used to have to play Boseiju and Scapeshift? Like, this is old Boseiju, not new Kamigawa Boseiju.
We're sheltering.
I know so well I still own my Boseiju.
Yeah. Cool.
It's so good.
This one's pretty good. Only 1 extra mana, so you're like paying 2 on top of your. It's like you just paid for your own counterspell for their counterspell that they don't get to cast. Like it was like the cost of a regular counterspell.
God, just being able to activate this and then casting Scapeshift.
Yeah.
Or like
It doesn't even say creature spell. Like
It just says spell, period.
Typically, the kind of counterspell protection that we've gotten in the past only applies to like one thing, usually creatures. But this
Very
anything.
strong.
want to
very
win a
flexible.
counter war?
Yeah.
Just what?
Yeah, just say no.
Use lands.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, that is the end of our Tarkir Dragonstorm set review. And I want to open the room up now to just some general thoughts. I'll start with Nelly.
Sure. I think another set where we saw not a ton, a few, but not a ton of like strictly powerful cards. There are a few cards where we sort of almost got out of our seat about and we expect we'll keep seeing. But they did give us a bunch of like really interesting situational options and cards for niche decks, especially like some graveyard stuff. I'm excited to try the new Teamer Counterspell. I feel like that I'm going to probably use one of those for a long time just because I'm an old guy and I'm a fan of Snapcaster Mage. sorry, not Teamer Counterspell, Teamer Snapcaster Mage.
Yep.
And then like, yeah, some of these Mardu cards, I think the Siegebreaker is like a really exciting one. The red orc 3/3 haste that
The discard matters one.
Yeah, it starts recasting your spells. That card is exciting too. So a bunch of like cool new role players and a few kind of like really exciting big things. So and I think that's a great pocket for a set to be.
So normally the gold cards, I'll go ahead of Wheeler
I talk a lot.
Oh, I know Wheeler's got a lot of thoughts. It's funny because after the first episode that we recorded, I came out extremely motivated and like these are all the decks that I immediately want to brew. And normally gold has like sort of the signpost uncommons and the things that we want to do. And I actually find myself less excited after this episode than the first episode. Just when you're looking at like cards that in particular create a spark of joy in my brain. And I think in general, this set is nowhere near as pushed as a lot of the cards and sets that we saw in 2024. And that's okay. I'm happy about that. All right. And now we'll go to Wheeler.
Well, I think that is a product of designing 3-color gold cards that genuinely feel like they capture each color in it. And especially when like the clans are already... they've existed for so long, and people know what they're doing. If you stray outside of that, then you're going to get people that are a little upset, or they'll be like, "This isn't what I wanted," and all that jazz. But I think this set's a banger for Canadian Highlander. It's a continuation of we basically since Bloomborough. I'm going to ignore Modern Horizons because I wish it didn't exist.
Sure.
But like from Bloomborough, like every standard release set that we have got has been great. There are a handful of cards that will guarantee like they will see play. And they will see play in like top peering decks. But there's also just so much juice for like tier 1.5, tier 2 decks or burgeoning archetypes.
Can I jump in for a second?
Sure.
What do you think the archetype that gained the most in this set? I think it might be tokens, would be my guess.
Tokens or Scape Shift.
Yeah, tokens Scape Shift.
Tokens is like, that deck was already doing incredibly well, and it got more of what it was doing incredibly well, which doesn't really shift like how to deal with tokens. And so while it gets a bunch of cards, and it's a really good deck getting a bunch of cards, none of them are doing anything out of the box or like adding a layer of redundancy that you needed for that deck, right? Tokens doesn't struggle to make tokens.
Sure.
Tokens doesn't even struggle to recover card advantage, right? Like you have the Ranger of Eos, Ocelot, Pride, Guide of Souls, Bright Hulk or Bright Glass Gear Hulk kind of stuff. But the Scape Shift list, which admittedly I'm more biased towards, like we got a land that says my Scape Shift can't be countered. We got a new Snapcaster Mage in our colors. We got an instant speed regrowth that I can set up to, buy back my Time Walk and you didn't see it coming. And I also got to hold up counter spells. Like
we even got a weird dragon you could try in the Jund version if you want.
Yeah, you got a weird dragon for the Jund version.
And a weird Crucible.
Yes. Yeah. There are so many new options for that style of deck. And that to me is always going to be a bit more interesting instead of just like, damn, this cheese sandwich got another slice of cheese on it. It's just like, okay. God, but
I love more cheese.
But that's the thing. You love more cheese. Yeah. It's great, but like you're just doing this more of the same thing.
Can we talk for a second about the fact that this set had 0 blue cards? Like, what does that say about a set when for the first time ever there's not a single monocolored card that we want to talk about?
That it is a multicolored set.
Yeah, we did cover a bunch of blue cards today, actually.
Sure.
I guess mono blue.
Because current design trends push towards permanent-based gameplay, right? Creatures, especially. Blue doesn't always have the best creatures.
That's fair.
And so it's very hard to usurp the good non-creature blue cards. And honestly, nowadays it's hard to get past the good blue creatures unless we get another like Oculus or Murktide.
Right. I mean, I guess some of the scariest threats we have right now are those two, right?
And so the most interesting iterations on blue cards or blue effects are when you start to incorporate additional colors, right? When you start to get that instant speed regrowth or a Snapcaster Mage that is just Snapcaster Mage, but it is also like, what if I Snapcaster and can help pay for it? Like, that's when blue gets interesting for sets like this, and when it can struggle for monocolored.
Any other closing thoughts, gentlemen?
It looks like a fun set.
Ugin, I have the Storms.
Yeah.
That is going to do it for our set review. Thank you so much for listening. As always, if there's anything that you think we missed, you want to join in the discussion, hit us up in the comments down below. A reminder that everything we do is brought to you by you with your support at the Patreon over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. I've been Serge. I have 1/5 of a drink remaining. We have a Nelson.
Hey, thanks for listening.
We have a Wheeler.
I got like a quarter of my drink remaining.
Shout out to James on tech.
Really more of an Australian Highlander guy.
No, you're not.
Oh, that's interesting. If you were, you would have called it 7-point Highlander. Nice 3 fingers up there, James.
Can I start my own podcast called South 60? Get it?
Yep.
Because it's Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, we all got it.
But they play 75, James.
I thought they played 60.
No,
have
the
sideboards.
sideboard's a very important part of that format.
Oh.
If you're going to clown on the Aussies,
I wasn't clowning. I was mostly clowning on you, but I probably should have done my research.
yeah,
Yeah.
do better.
I don't have a drink either. It's really just...
Yeah, we knew.
It's all
pal.
falling
we
apart.
knew.
Yeah,
we knew
yeah.
he wasn't hydrated with that bit, huh?
Old dry Turner over there.
I'll play Australian Highlander with you.
We need to get the Friesler a drink. All right.
Right.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.